I think we may have a quorum. Hi, Emily.
Hello.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I think we'll go ahead and call this meeting of the Public Records Advisory Council Bylaws Subcommittee to order. Hopefully it's a pretty quick one, but we'll see where the conversation takes us. I've called this to order. Todd, before we review the agenda, do you want to, did we satisfy the roll call requirement?
We do. We have 4 out of 6 voting members present.
Thank you very much. Okay, so the agenda, this is a pretty informal meeting, I think, so I didn't prepare a PowerPoint, but the agenda is essentially to hear a report on some of the research done on the hiring process for the public records advocate position, take questions from the subcommittee, and hopefully we get to a point where we can have a vote by this subcommittee in terms of recommending the process outlined. Hello, Andrea. Outlined in the material presented. I did have a couple little minor modifications I'll note when we get to that point, but the agenda is pretty much call to order, review, and potentially vote on that process, and then adjourn. Is there any questions or comments or proposed changes to that agenda? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve that agenda.
So moved.
Seconded.
Thank you. It's been moved by Member Landauer, seconded by Todd to approve the agenda as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Agenda is approved unanimously amongst members present. Thank you very much. So right into the meat of today's discussion. I'll start sharing my screen just to show you a version of what was posted online as an exhibit for this meeting, and that's this proposed hiring process for the Public Records Advocate Office. So we went over most of this version that was presented at our last bylaws meeting. I appreciate that most of the members couldn't be present, but Mark, Todd, and I had a good discussion on it, and hopefully members were able to take a look at that recording or get a gleam for what was there. In the last few months, we've spoken to a couple other agencies, and then just yesterday, Todd and I were able to meet with members, our DAS Human Resources representative, and we got some pretty good feedback from them. So on generally, what I took away from all that research and all those discussions and emails was this process, this general flow chart that you see here on the screen. I think it's pretty straightforward. Most of us, I think, have probably been involved in recruitment and hiring processes of various forms or some fairly basic elements, and I think we tried to capture that here. Having said that, this is, a proposal, so this is the subcommittee that will have a first opportunity to correct, make tweaks, whatever questions you have, let's do that. But I will say the things, I did take three things away from yesterday with HR. First off, they definitely see themselves as our partner when it comes to the recruitment. So when we get, whether it be this year or in the future, when the PRAC gets to a recruitment phase, DAS HR would come to that meeting and work with the full council to talk about what the recruitment looks like, what publicity funding needs to be contributed or allocated from the Public Records Advocate Agency, if that's warranted. So they're there to be our partners with that and to shepherd, receive the applications. There's different levels of reviewing and vetting of applications that could be done, and we can have that conversation when we get to a recruitment, and then they would help us through the interview process and selection process. So that was underscored. They saw this flow chart, and I didn't receive any. I sent it to them, and we talked about it in person, and they didn't have any direct feedback in terms of changing anything drastically from what you see proposed. They did suggest that we would want to begin with a understanding that our current record advocate contract ends in October. They suggested we don't start this any later than June. So at this point, I think our goal is to start this process, this flow chart, no later than June, potentially earlier, depending on where the council goes. So everything else is as presented. Under recruitment, there was some discussion. The Public Records Advocate as an agency is a non-ORS 240 agency, which I won't pretend to know I know all of that means, but it means enough to know that how we go about recruitment, we don't fall under certain umbrellas in terms of how employees of the agency are treated. And then, Todd, please correct me if I say something incorrectly. But what that means for our process is generally non-ORS 240 agencies, the chair and the vice chair of the council or board would lead the recruitment and negotiation process. So they didn't say that was a hard and fast rule, but that's just sort of the general guidance they suggested. They did say there's room for a subcommittee of the PRA, of the PRAC, to be identified, and doesn't have to be the chair and vice chair. But that was just sort of the general guidance, not necessarily you must do it this way. I think those are all things. Look at my notes real quick. Todd, do you want to say anything else about our conversations with other agencies in HR?
No, I think that's pretty on point. You know, as a non-240 agency, we have flexibility. That's kind of it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I had other notes. I guess that's it. So with that, this is sort of what you see on the screen, and this is the flow chart, and it's written out down here below. And this is my best effort at this, and I'm open to any edits people want to make. But I think I'll turn it open to the full subcommittee then, if anybody has any questions, comments, thoughts. And I see Andrew Smith raised his hand. Andrew, forget me if I'm wrong, I don't believe you're a member of our subcommittee, and I don't know we have public comment built into this meeting today, but do you want to identify yourself real quick?
Sure. I'm here today on behalf of Representative Anderson. So if it's not appropriate for me to ask a question, I won't. I just have a question on the chart, but I can certainly hold it.
I apologize. You even put a comment to that effect in the chat, and that just went right over my head. I apologize, Andrew. Please go ahead. You're representing ex officio.
So yeah. Question would be, just as I engage my boss to catch him up on today's discussion, does the flow chart have any recommended for the process how long it takes? And I know that could be very specific to every situation, but like, for example, how long does a typical, if you did a 360 review, how long would that take? Or I don't know if that's an important piece to talk about, if that would help, or at this point maybe it's not helpful, but I would just a comment when I see the chart.
No, I think that's a very helpful question, and forgive me for your sloppy introduction there, Andrew. I appreciate you being here on behalf of Representative Anderson. Let's see, when we asked that question to HR yesterday, and they sort of agreed that about a recruitment process, which would include the 360 review, you're looking at probably about 4 months. It can go a little quicker, it can go a little slower, depending on how things play out, of course, but 4 months. And if that's giving 1 to 2 months for the recruitment part here, then I would expect a review probably a month, but I haven't actually gone with myself. Mark?
No, it's a good question, Andy, and thanks for joining us today, and congratulations with your appointment to Rep. Anderson's staff. We did discuss the 360 review in our previous meeting of this subcommittee, and we came to, I think, a fairly general consensus that we didn't want to do a massive 360 review, rather probably seek feedback from some individuals who have gone through the mediation process, probably a few individuals on the council itself, and any further public feedback that we got. But I don't think we wanted to do a massive outreach on this, rather more of a strategically narrowed one to get any feedback in the event that the existing advocate wants to continue to serve in this capacity, which I presume is the case.
Thank you, Mark. Emily, did I see your hand up at a moment?
Sorry, no. My question has been addressed now.
Okay. So probably about a month, month and a half, and that would add to an overall process of about 4 months. Andrea?
I don't think this group, being a non-240 agency, would fall under this at all, but Governor Kotek has kind of set a standard for time to fill of 50 days. And that time to fill is from the day the recruitment opens to the day a job offer is made to the candidate. And so maybe that could be a good thing to align with, although that's not required, from this group. So just putting that out there too. Yeah,
to me, that still falls within that 1 to 2 month time period. And I would hate to see a recruitment stretch beyond many more than 2 months. So, any other questions or thoughts on this proposed process?
Well, I'm prepared to make a recommendation that the subcommittee forward this proposal to the full committee for approval.
I hear a motion. I also saw Todd's hand go up at the same time. Did you want to say anything at this moment, Todd?
Well, I don't know if it'll be helpful or not. I think the long-term care ombudsman did their 360 before they decided if they were going to reappoint or recruit new candidates. And I didn't know if this group wanted to consider that alternative or decide about, as we have it here, reappointment or recruitment, and then move to a 360, I guess, in one of those events.
So it's almost like a half step between 4 and 5, depending
Would be
on how
more
the-
like,
yeah.
Sorry, I think it would be more like 2 and 3 would be reversed.
Reverse 2 and 3.
Well, yeah,
I think
well,
you would
just,
put 2 as 4 and then 3 and 4 would come before 2.
yeah, 3 and 4 before 2.
Okay.
I would support that change.
1, 3, 4, 2.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that as well.
Andrea?
Just a question for Todd. Are you on a normal cadence of 360 reviews, or is that not?
No, I had
you're
one
not
in
part of the-
2019 as a member of the Leadership Oregon cohort, and
Yeah.
I'm actually not 100% sure if I'm currently in the group that will be required to get one.
I feel like probably not. But yeah, sorry, the requirements in my head are kind of but there's a normal cadence now for agency directors to get a 360 review. And so if the position is in that normal cadence, it might be of interest to take that into consideration, but it sounds like it's not. So yes, but also would support moving that up in the process.
Thank you, Andrea. I hear committee support for 1, 3, 4 in terms of removing that. And if that's where we land, then I will happily make that adjustment and share it via Todd with the entire council before our meeting on Friday. Okay, Mark, if I may.
I'll modify my motion then and recommend that the modification be in order 1, 3, 4, 2 for this portion, and then I'll make a motion to forward this to the full PrAC. I think that would probably be the in order. Is that right, Scott?
Sure. So you're making, there wasn't 2 motions or
So
one motion with 2 stops.
I will table my previous motion.
Okay.
And move that the current proposal be renumbered as described previously, and that the modified flow chart be recommended for approval by the full PrAC at its next meeting.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. It's been moved, and thank you, Emily. It's been moved by Mark and seconded by Emily to renumber the proposed flow chart for the hiring process to number 1, 3, 4, 2, and then 5, 6, 7, 8, and then to forward that revised flow chart process to the full council for its consideration at the council's next full meeting, which is this Friday. Any further discussion on that motion?
Well, I'll take the liberty of thanking Scott for doing quite a bit of work on this. Scott, thank you very much for taking this on and leading this group. I really truly do appreciate your work and thought that you've put into this. So thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. I've been happy to do it, and not to nerd out, but I'm looking forward to the bylaws part. Okay. Okay, so we haven't had a full, it's been moved and seconded on the motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
All right, I see 4 yeses and 1 abstention, probably understood as to the nature of that
I'm
abstention.
Yes,
and
thank you.
no objections, the motion carries, and we will refer this to the council. I'll make that change. I'm heading into city council meetings myself here in a moment, so this probably won't be done until tomorrow, but I will get it to you, Todd, as soon as I can, probably tomorrow. With that completes the subcommittee's work, and we're just 1 minute over when we said we'd be done. So if there are no other comments or remarks for the moment, I will consider us adjourned.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks.